Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving deep into Cal Newport's digital minimalism to explore how we can reclaim our time and attention in this digital world. And to wrap things up, we'll be giving you a super handy 10-point summary of everything we talk about so you can remember the best tips. Are you ready to declutter your digital life?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so Newport really gets right to the issue. He talks about how technology, even with all the good it can do, often just makes us feel overwhelmed and distracted, even like we're being manipulated. He
Mhm.
even quotes Bill Maher, who called tech giants tobacco farmers in T-shirts. Like, they're pushing addictive products, especially on younger generations.
Yeah, that's a really powerful analogy. And it makes you think about how those tech companies are using persuasive design or even what Tristan Harris called brain hacking in that 60-minute segment, to keep us hooked on our phones and things.
It's a little creepy when you think about it, right? Like, they're designing our phones on purpose to hijack our brains.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's where Cal Newport's whole concept of digital minimalism comes in. It's not about being scared of technology and throwing your phone away. It's more about being intentional about the technology you let into your life. You get to choose the tools that actually fit your values and goals instead of letting every single notification or new app control how you spend your time.
That really hits home for me. So much of what we do online comes from this fear of missing out, right? Like we have to be connected all the time, and it's just exhausting.
Absolutely. And a lot of times it even makes us less productive. Newport talks about this guy, Tyler, who just decided to quit social media altogether. And the crazy thing is, Tyler didn't just feel less stressed, like he had more free time. His career actually took off. He got his dream job, started writing more, and even got back into photography, which he loved. All because he stopped chasing those quick online rewards and focused on the stuff that really mattered.
That's incredible. It's true what they say. Sometimes less is really more.
Exactly. It's like what you see on those return curves. At first, more technology seems like it brings more value. But there's a point where it just doesn't work anymore. You get overwhelmed and you get less done. Digital minimalism is about finding that balance, where technology actually makes your life better, not control it.
So how do we find that perfect balance? Does Newport give us some tips?
He does. And one of the most interesting ones is this idea of solitude deprivation.
Have you ever noticed how hard it is to just sit and think without grabbing your phone or turning on the TV?
Oh, totally. I do that all the time.
Well, you're not alone. Newport says that we're constantly connected, and it's taking away the solitude we need to really think deeply, to process our emotions, to be creative. And this isn't a new idea either. People like Thoreau and Anthony Storr have been talking about how bad it is to live without solitude for centuries.
So what's the answer? Do we all need to build cabins in the woods like Thoreau? Well, not exactly. It's more about finding those little moments of solitude in your everyday life. Newport says that solitude is about being free from other people's thoughts. It's about what's happening in your own mind, not just being physically alone. So maybe it's taking a walk without your phone, spending some time in nature, or even just giving yourself a few minutes each day to just sit and think.
I like that. It was like building those little connected cabins in our busy lives. It's all about taking back control, isn't it? We choose when and how we connect instead of letting technology decide everything for us.
Exactly. You become the master of your own attention, not a slave to all those pings and notifications.
Yeah.
And when it comes to taking back control, Cal Newport actually gives us a bunch of practical strategies for how to do digital minimalism. One of the most interesting ones is what he calls the digital declutter. You can think of it like spring cleaning for your digital life.
Okay, now I'm interested. How does that work? Do we just check our phones in the garbage?
Well, not exactly, but it does involve trying something pretty different. You take a 30-day break from all those technologies that you don't really need.
Well, a whole month.
Yeah, 30 days. That means things like social media, streaming, video games, news apps. You could even try giving up email if your work lets you. Basically, anything you don't absolutely need for your job or to talk to people about important things.
That's intense. But I guess if Tyler could quit social media cold turkey and do so well, maybe a tech break for a month isn't so crazy.
The important thing is to use all that extra time to do things that you really enjoy. Remember when we talked about high quality leisure? This is where you can really try those things out. Instead of being on Instagram, imagine learning something new, making something with your hands, meeting up with friends, or just taking a nice walk in nature.
I'm starting to see how this digital declutter could be a good thing. It's like hitting a reset button for your whole digital life. You get to rediscover what's really important.
Exactly. And after those 30 days are over, you don't just go back to your old habits. You carefully choose which technologies to bring back into your life. The ones that will actually add value. And you set clear rules for yourself about how you'll use them.
So it's not about pretending technology doesn't exist. It's about being more careful and picky about how technology fits into our lives.
Right. Maybe you decide to only check social media a couple times a day, or maybe you only use it on your computer so you're not always tempted to check it.
I like that. Make it harder to get to. It's like we have to trick our brains sometimes because those apps are so good at keeping us hooked.
Yeah, that's the idea. You're adding a little friction, make it just a bit harder to fall back into those mindless habits. And sometimes that means doing something more extreme, like leaving your phone at home.
Wait, leave my phone at home? Seriously. But what if something happens? What if I need to look something up really quickly? Like if I can't remember the name of a song?
Well, obviously, there are times when you need your phone. But honestly, think about how often we take our phones with us just out of habit, not because we actually need them, like going to the store real quick, or going for a walk in the park, or even just hanging out at home. Those are all times when you could practice just being present without your phone.
I'll admit it makes me a little nervous to think about leaving my phone behind. But I remember that story from the book about Hope King, the woman who couldn't use her phone for months because it was stolen.
Oh, yeah. And she ended up loving it. She got back into reading, spent more time with people, and was just more present. It's a good reminder that we can actually survive and even be happier without being connected all the time.
I think we've become so used to having our phones that we've forgotten what it's like to just be in the world without them.
Exactly. And that's why it's so good to practice things like leaving your phone at home sometimes or taking digital detox breaks. It helps you get back those little moments of solitude, those quiet times that are so good for us.
So we've covered digital decluttering, leaving our phones at home. What else does Newport suggest?
He's a big fan of long walks. Walking has always been a great way for people to get inspiration and feel refreshed. Thoreau, Nietzsche, Wendell Berry, lots of famous thinkers have loved walking.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Just walking with no phone, no music, just you, your thoughts, and maybe some squirrels.
Exactly. You get to be surrounded by nature, let your mind wander, and experience that solitude we were talking about. It's kind of like a meditation, but while you're moving.
Another thing that stood out to me was the idea of writing letters to yourself. Seems a bit old-fashioned, but I can see how it could be helpful.
It is. It's a really great way to think about yourself and work through your feelings. You have to slow down, explain your thoughts clearly, and kind of have a conversation with yourself.
It's like having a therapist, but the therapist is you, and the best part is you don't need an appointment, and it's free.
Exactly. And then you have a written record of how you were feeling at that time, which can be really interesting to look back on later.
Okay, so we've talked about digital decluttering, leaving our phones behind, taking long walks, writing letters. What about social media? Can we use it without getting sucked into endlessly scrolling and feeling like we're missing out on everything?
We can. The first thing is to remember that social media platforms are designed to be addictive.
Yeah.
Those like buttons, the never-ending feeds, the notifications popping up all the time. It's all meant to keep us engaged and make us feel like we need to be connected all the time.
It's like they're playing a game, and we're the pieces they're moving around.
Right. But we can learn to play the game differently. One easy thing you can do is just stop clicking like on every single post. It's about being more careful about who you give your attention and approval to. Instead of liking things just because you feel like you should, save your likes for things that really matter to you, things that make you happy or make you think differently.
So instead of throwing likes around like confetti, we're choosing to be more intentional about how we interact online.
Exactly. And if you really want to connect with someone, send them a message, call them, or even better, meet up in person. Focus on having quality interactions instead of just a bunch of random ones.
Which brings us back to that idea of having conversation office hours, where you set aside specific times to talk to the people you care about.
It's a smart way to control your time and attention. Instead of feeling like you have to answer every message right away, you can set boundaries and make time for focused conversations.
It's like you're saying, my time is important, and I'm choosing to spend it with people who are important to me.
Exactly. It's all about taking charge of your digital life and having a relationship with technology that makes you feel good and fits your values. For me, the most powerful idea in all of this is the attention resistance. It's like we're pushing back against all those things that are constantly fighting for our attention. We can actually take back control of where our focus goes. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's like we're standing up for our own mental health. you know, saying we won't be controlled by the attention economy. And Newport has some pretty bold ideas about how to do that, like dumbing down our smartphones. Remember the stories about Paul and Daniel Colup?
Oh, absolutely. They ditched their smartphones and went back to those basic phones, and they loved it. They were more focused, less anxious, and felt more present in their lives.
It's almost like they're going against the grain, you know? When everyone wants the newest phone, they decided to simplify and focus on what really matters.
Yeah, they realized that being constantly connected, which seems so convenient, was actually costing them something much more important: their time, their attention, their peace of mind.
And it's inspiring because it shows that we have a choice. We don't have to be controlled by our devices. We can break free from all those notifications and take back our attention.
Exactly. And you don't even have to go all the way back to a basic phone to see the benefits. There are lots of ways to use our smartphones less, even if we love our iPhones and Androids.
Like what? What are some things that even someone who loves technology could try?
One simple thing is to just delete those social media apps from your phone. You can still check them on your computer if you need to, but you won't be tempted to look at them all day long.
It's like hiding the cookies so you won't be tempted to eat them all.
Exactly. It's all about making it just a little bit harder to fall back into those bad habits. And sometimes you need something stronger, like those apps that block websites and apps. I've heard great things about Freedom.
Oh yeah, freedom. I've heard of that. Tell me more about it.
So with Freedom, you can choose which websites and apps to block for a certain amount of time. You can even schedule it ahead of time so you're not tempted to change your mind. It's like having someone help you stay focused and get things done.
I love that idea. It's like creating a little space where you can really focus and think deeply.
Huh.
And speaking of focus, the book also talks about being more careful about how we consume news, like taking a slow media approach. What's that all about?
It means slowing down and being picky about what news we read and watch. It's about quality over quantity. So instead of being sucked into the 24/7 news cycle, try checking the news just once or twice a day from sources you trust. And try to avoid those clickbait headlines and stories that are just trying to get a reaction out of you.
It's like choosing to enjoy a really good meal instead of just scarfing down junk food.
Exactly. It's about feeding our minds good information instead of filling them with stuff that doesn't matter. And it's about giving our time and attention back to the things that are truly important.
And since we're talking about giving our time back to what matters, let's go back to social media. We talked about using it less and being careful about who we connect with. But is there a way to use social media strategically, like as a tool, instead of a distraction?
Oh, definitely. We can learn a lot from Jennifer Greigel, that social media expert we talked about before. She uses social media very intentionally for professional networking, staying current in her field, and connecting with people who share her interests.
Right. She even has separate Twitter accounts for her work as a professor and for her love of music. And she's really careful about who she follows in each account. She sticks to people who are smart and interesting.
Exactly. She uses social media as a professional tool, not just for fun. And she uses it to make real-life connections. Like, she might meet someone online, but then she'll email them or call them to build a stronger relationship.
So it's like using social media to connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
It's not the end goal. And that reminds us what digital minimalism is all about. Technology isn't good or bad in itself. It's how we use it that matters.
Exactly. We get to decide how technology influences our lives. We can either let it control us, or we can use it as a tool to support what we believe in, what we want to achieve, and how we want to feel.
And that's why this deep dive has been so helpful. It's given us a new way to think about how we use technology and to make choices that fit with the kind of life we want to live.
And like we promised, let's wrap things up with our 10-point summary of the key takeaways from digital minimalism. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Okay, number one, technology isn't neutral. It's designed to be addictive. So you got to be aware of how it's trying to hook you.
Number two, digital minimalism is about being intentional. Choose tech that helps you with your values and goals, not just the stuff that's popular or new.
Number three, solitude is really important for deep thinking, being creative, and feeling good. So build those little pockets of solitude into your day, even if it's just a few minutes of quiet time.
Number four, go for high-quality leisure. Choose activities that challenge you, make you use your mind and body, and connect you to the real world.
Number five, cultivate a craft. Make things, learn new skills, and leave your mark on the world.
Number six, make real-life social interaction a priority. Build community, do things with other people, and choose face-to-face conversations and shared experiences over just connecting online.
Number 7, join the attention resistance. Take back control of your time and attention. Don't let all those things fighting for your mental energy win.
Number 8, think about simplifying your smartphone or using it less. Break free from being constantly connected.
Number 9, be intentional with social media. Use it strategically, not just for entertainment. Figure out your goals for using it, be careful about who you connect with, and limit how much time you spend on it.
And last but not least, number 10, remember that technology can be a good thing. It can help connect communities, give people hobbies, and make our lives better. But we need to use it wisely and with a purpose.
Great job summing it all up. Hopefully this will inspire our listener to try out digital minimalism for themselves.
Me too. It's a journey, but it's worth it. If we're mindful about the technology we choose and focus on what really matters, we can live a richer, more meaningful life and feel more connected to the world around us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And keep exploring, keep trying new things, and keep choosing to live intentionally in this digital age.